ECOWAS has set a transition timeline for Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to finalize their exit by July 29th of 2025 through the official withdrawal date, though the official withdrawal date remains January 29th. The military-led governments rejected ECOWAS's push for a return to democracy, citing dissatisfaction with sanctions and the bloc's handling of regional security. Despite their planned departure, the country stated that their territories would remain visa-free for West Africans, with entry restrictions reserved for inadmissible individuals. Analysts say the split reflects ECOWAS's biggest challenge since its founding in 1975, with slim chances of reconciliation due to conflicting priorities on governance and democratic principles. Well, for a conversation on the ECOWAS exit timeline set for Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and the implications for the regional bloc, we have Director of Research in Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Professor Joshua Bolarinwa. Thank you for joining us here on Newsday.
Thank you.
What do you make of this timeline that has been set for the withdrawal of these three countries, and do you foresee any additional countries joining suit? Professor Bolarinwa, I just want to make sure you can hear me. And it seems we might...
Now I can hear you. Can you repeat the question?
Surely. I wanted to get your opinion on the timeline of the exit for the three nations, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and whether, in your opinion, you foresee any other nations joining the exit strategy as well.
Of course, following the 66th Ordinary Summit of the Authority of the ECOWAS Heads of States, which was held on 15 December 2024, one of the major decisions taken was the approval of the exit of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which the ECOWAS Authority had put for January 29, 2025. And that has come from the provision of the ECOWAS Revised Treaty, Article 91, that has provided that any state or member that wants to exit the organization has to give its intention in writing before the withdrawal can be granted or approved. And that eventually was granted at the 15th December 2024 summit of the Ordinary Summit of the Authority of the ECOWAS Heads of States and Government. They gave 6 months timeline between January 29, 2025 to July 29, 2025. That timeline gives the opportunity. It gives the opportunity. It also gives a time for leveraging and diplomacy, so that those members can always be engaged diplomatically. We could apply rapprochement and other things in order to try to still convince them to come back. And within that 6-month opportunity, ECOWAS has given those three countries more opportunities or further opportunities to reconsider their positions and come back to the ECOWAS, which they have been right from inception. Coincidentally, both Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are pioneer members of the ECOWAS. And that is why it is a very, very significant political decision. And gracefully, that is why ECOWAS has been very magnanimous to now give a 6-month transition period for these three countries to reconsider their position in coming back. Within this now, there's opportunity for diplomatic engagement, conflict resolution, and re-engagement, and that they, if they reconsider their positions, can be reconsidered and be reabsorbed into ECOWAS.
Now, but Professor Bolarinwa, I'm wondering what lessons ECOWAS should take from this dispute so as to prevent more withdrawals going forward. You'll recall that the nations, give their own, they give their reasons for wanting to exit the bloc. What steps should ECOWAS take to ensure that we do not see such again?
Thank you. ECOWAS has learned its lessons. Not just one, but lessons. And at the same time, I want to believe those 3 countries that are sought for withdrawal from ECOWAS, they are also learning their lessons, and they will still learn more lessons. But within this, ECOWAS had learned that it is also good to engage more in diplomatic engagements. In other words, ECOWAS will continue to deploy more of diplomatic engagement, rapprochement, and more importantly, ECOWAS has also decided to improve more on its consolidating its democratic principles and also encouraging and embracing democracy. Ghana just did likewise in the past days, and it has become also a very good example to follow. So ECOWAS is trying to consolidate its democratic principles. ECOWAS is also consolidating its collective principles of collective security, and so that there will be more security for member states, for territorial integrity, even within the decision of this authority of ECOWAS, heads of state and government, which was held yesterday. They also have been able to also recount on efforts ECOWAS has made on regional economic integration scheme. They are improving more on that one. They are also increasingly working on the operationalization of the certificate of origin. Then again, ECOWAS is also improving on the continued implementation of trade liberalization policy within the ECOWAS region. All of this, ECOWAS is trying to improve in order to facilitate and also encourage regional integration, encourage economic development, encourage regional security, encourage collective security, and at the same time be able to ensure that democracy is entrenched, as also portrayed in the leadership of ECOWAS from the Nigerian president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by consolidating on democracy, by embracing development, and by improving in the area of trade liberalization scheme, and at the same time also continue to operationalize that of the certificate of origin. And above all, we come together as ECOWAS community. It's a community of nations and citizens. If that is embraced the more, I think ECOWAS has learned a great deal of lesson to move forward.
Fair enough. And what could be the implications of the exit? Visa-free movement, trade within these nations, free trade within these nations would certainly be put into question. What is your opinion on how the after effects will trickle down through the region?
In any way, even if those 3 countries have been given the approval to exit, and magnanimously, ECOWAS also gave a 6-month transition period for them to have a rethink over their decisions. At the same time, trade will continue within ECOWAS among the member states, and by extension, beyond the member states within the ECOWAS community. By implication, even those 3 countries can always also trade with the ECOWAS member states, and they will continue to enjoy trade relations with ECOWAS member states, including Nigeria. And at the same time, they also will understand that they also need even security too, collective security, regional security, border security, trade, economic development. These are the major focus. And at the same time, the 3 countries will also have a reconsideration on their minds that they also need democracy, because over time, the citizens of these three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, we at a time demand for democracy or democratic leadership as being demanded across the continent now. So they will also, at one time or the other, their citizens will demand for democracy. So they will also need to come back to democratic principles are being preached, are being enunciated by the ECOWAS authority.
But, I'm wondering how you would assess the mediation effort so far. Have you seen maybe any noticeable signs of reconciliation?
Yes, the mediation efforts, reconciliation efforts, they are already yielding fruits. They are yielding fruits because in the past few months, we have seen the Nigerian government engaging Nigerian government, Niger, and by extension, Mali and Burkina Faso. Thereby, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria, they have engaged in diplomatic engagements. They have deployed some other diplomatic principles and understanding. There have been several visits. They have been exchanging several visits in trying to predicate upon the leadership of these three countries through Niger. And all of these efforts have been yielding some benefits. By extension, ECOWAS has also delegated the president of Senegal, President Faye, and the president of Togo, President Faye. Both have made very critical visits, critical mediation and conflict resolution efforts in trying to re-engage both Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and trying to put a lot of pressure on them to return to ECOWAS fold. It is the three countries, they are better off in ECOWAS than staying alone as a Sahelian state or Confederation of Sahelian States as they are called now. They are better off in the ECOWAS. And I've seen major efforts from the ECOWAS through President Faye of Senegal and President Faye of Togo. All these efforts and the major efforts also made by the chairman of the authority of ECOWAS head of state, President Bolarinwa, all of these efforts are yielding fruits, and the fruits will soon come to manifestation in the nearest future. And that is why ECOWAS is trying to follow its ECOWAS revised treaty of 1991 in the provision of the Article 91 that says that if any member or members have shown indication to exit or withdraw its or their membership of the ECOWAS, if that is done, ECOWAS should consider it. And that's why ECOWAS, the authority in this 66th summit, held on the 15th of December 2024, were able to consider this application and approved their withdrawal from January 29, 2025. And that also magnanimously, ECOWAS authority gave a 6-month transition period in order to make them reconsider their stand, reconsider their decision, and moving forward so that they can benefit more from within ECOWAS than outside ECOWAS.
And what are your thoughts on the criticisms on how ECOWAS in the first place handled the coups in the West African region that ultimately resulted in some of these nations deciding to exit? The criticism is that instead of the ECOWAS has been inconsistent in their responses to the coups in West Africa, further giving off the impression that they're fueled by political ambition rather than the founding democratic principles.
I personally does not buy into the criticism. Every nation of the world has its own domestic challenges. And within these domestic challenges also lie the strength of those nations. And in that, ECOWAS, as a regional economic community, as a regional organization who have done so much on the issue of regional security, take it from the ECOMOG to ECOWAS standby force, Take it from even ECOWAS democratic principles, ECOWAS democratic protocols, ECOWAS democratic moratorium on democratic consolidation, ECOWAS issues on regional security, ECOWAS issues on different issues affecting the member states, trade liberalization scheme, regional economic integration scheme, and even the certificate of origin, which ECOWAS has been operationalizing even up to now. In all of this, ECOWAS has done well. So one criticism, one issue or anything is not a general criteria to say ECOWAS is criticized for doing this and doing that. Take, for example, the major reason given collectively by these three countries, particularly Burkina Faso, is that they have serious economic insecurity, domestic challenges, terrorism, insurgency. But look at it. In the past 1 or 2 years, particularly in the past 1 year that these three countries have indicated their withdrawal from ECOWAS, they are now, the three, particularly Burkina Faso, they are facing more security or domestic challenges than when they were in the ECOWAS. They are facing it. In 2023 and this 2024 year ending, Burkina Faso has the highest number of deaths from terrorism, from insurgencies, and there are reports, global reports, terrorism global report, and even the index report, showing that the terrorist groups, insurgent groups, are regrouping seriously in Burkina Faso, leading to a number of deaths, killing even the national army, killing soldiers, and all of that. Even Niger facing domestic challenges, or talk less of Mali, from economic to security challenges. They are not better off. They are better off within the ECOWAS. But the criticism of resurgence of coups and democratic reversals in West Africa or within ECOWAS, these are global challenges, of course, reflecting more within ECOWAS. And ECOWAS have been tackling these challenges. What ECOWAS needs to do more is to apply more of preventive diplomacy than reactive diplomacy. So now, and ECOWAS has stepped up these diplomatic engagements, this preventive diplomacy, and even rapprochement in making sure that in the nearest future, ECOWAS remains intact, its membership remains intact, and these three, whose withdrawal has been approved, they will also reconsider their positions and return to ECOWAS. And I believe that ECOWAS, trying to assess it, ECOWAS has done better and fared better successively than even the 1 or 2 challenges or criticism of democratic reversal and, say, resurgence of coups, which ECOWAS is tackling seriously well. And by extension, AU also frowns at unconstitutional change of government. If you look at Article 4 of the African Union Constituent Act, it says that any country that will have a change of government other than democratic means will not be accepted or allowed. And that's what ECOWAS is also seriously pursuing by upholding democratic principles, by consolidating democracy within the ECOWAS region, by also extending issue of regional and collective security so that all of us are safe as one. And at the same time, also improving trade relations among ourselves. By so doing, prosperity will increase. Standard of living will increase. At the same time, we are going also to be able to ensure regional economic integration. And this will reflect through regional institutions being developed, through regional infrastructure being developed. All of these are what ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State are pursuing. And I believe that all of this will be achieved in the nearest future if you compare with the successes made by ECOWAS before now.
Professor Joshua Bolarinwa, Director of Research, Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, thank you so much for that insightful discussion.